Hey guys, let's start a little bit early again, because we have famous people in the house. There's the ever illustrious pink Johnny Bergdahl, and Dr. Z seems to be here. Awesome! So welcome to the pre-stream, I guess. We still have 10 minutes. Today the Coke selection has landed on cherry, so yeah. Trying out a little bit different angle here. There's more of me in the shot. My hair is all whacked. Oh well. Oh, Mako is here too. Sorry about that. Kim, I'm not going to try and pronounce your last name. That's just not going to go well. Oh no! Coca-Cola Cherry! Yep, it's happening. You have the best camera. Well, I hope so. It's expensive enough. But we're now at full 60 FPS. Because I thought, hey, let's try a live stream with 60 frames per second and see how that works. Although I think on the previous lens, where I had a little bit tighter shot, I was a bit sharper. But who knows? What camera is it? This is a Panasonic S5. And, well, we have the top cam too. And that is basically my old camera. That is still at 4K 30, but yeah. And the other one is 4K 60. But that is a Panasonic G7. So, two different systems from Panasonic, but I like their interface, and they do well with live streams and stuff like that, so, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't compare to a webcam. But then again, I have this PC here with a quad HDMI capture card, so I can do 4K, 4 times 4K capture. Like last time, while building the server, we actually got the HDMI input from the server PC directly into this, and we had a third camera here, and the top cam, and this cam, and yeah, it's awesome, and it works really nice with OBS, and even the autofocus seems okay. Why is it lagging? Is it lagging on your side? It's lagging on my side, because I'm trying some new settings. I'm not sure those are working out. I think my GPU might be overloaded. Oh wait, the music is way too loud. Me and my Logitech webcams. My PC is older than one of my kids. Yeah, you might be due for an upgrade there. Yeah, so I kind of have like overkill hardware. So this is a 12-core AMD 5900X with 32 gigabytes of memory and all SSD storage, and it has a GTX 1080. That's kind of the lowest part of it, which a 30 series would be better. But I already had the 1080 because I replaced the 1080 in my desktop. But a 30 series would be better for encoding and stuff like that. But it seemed to do okay up till now. But now I'm asking it to do 2 encodes at the same time. That might be a bit much, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, Jorda, I noticed the music was too loud. I turned it down. Q is an IT nerd, so of course he has overkill stuff. Yeah, you know, it's fun to play with overkill hardware instead of, like, not enough hardware. This PC is perfect now for all my needs. As I said, maybe I want a 30 series graphic card at some point. Maybe I'll put a 40 series in there when it comes out. I don't know. But, yeah. I think he pulls to the max the slider when he doesn't speak. No, I actually have auto ducking in OBS. So when I speak, the volume lowers, and when I don't speak, it automatically comes back. So that while I'm doing stuff, you guys can enjoy the music, but when I'm talking, you guys can hear me. Like my old 15,000 euro server. What? So what are you guys drinking? I mean, I have my Coke, my disgusting cherry. I like it. Sorry. What do you guys have? I am still using the Dahua Doorcam, absolutely for sure. I love that thing. Coke, just plain plus Mark, zero cola. Nice. Mezzo mixed cherry. Oh god, I mixed the vanilla and the cherry last time. I didn't like that. That wasn't great. It's better apart. Sometimes things are better apart. I don't know. Dual CPUs and has a bunch of 1500 euro SSDs. Nice. You know what I have? Dr. Pepper. Yeah, that's true. That's true. It was a bit cold in the garage today, so I lit a little fire in the background here. It's, you know, to warm me up. Some LED fire. It's not very good at warming me up. There is now an integration for the Dahua. Yeah, Dahua. Yeah, I believe Roller, he's also on the Discord server, actually made that. And I plan to do a video on that, switching from the old one to the new one. But since it's in production, it's basically the only thing that will ring my doorbell. I haven't made the switch yet, but I need to make some time for that. And then also make a video about it, switching from the old one to the new one. And exploring some features of the new one, because I believe the new one can also trigger the IR lights permanently and other things like that. So yeah, I need to look into that. Not as cold as here. Heating broke. Oh no. That's not good. It's getting a bit warmer over here, but you're not too far from where I am, Philip, so... Sorry. That's not very nice. What Taxman says? What? What does the Taxman say? Who is the Taxman? Am I the Taxman? What the model of the new one, the Hua? I don't know. I still have the old one. I'll look into it when I make a new video about it. If there's a new model, which would maybe have some improvements. Maybe they have a new model by now. I don't know. I've been trying to get the IKEA remotes to work with my bulbs in Z2M today. Okay, almost got there. One bulb refusing to play. Okay. Coca-Cola went to town. Pepsi-Cola shot him down. Dr. Pepper fixed him up. Now we're drinking 7-Up. Okay, well that we got all the brands now, so that's good. Actually, they're all the same brands, I guess. They're two main brands, I guess. But yeah. Taxman is one of the participants in the chat. Oh, okay. I haven't seen him say anything yet, have I? Oh well. So is the music still too loud, or is it okay now? I like the music. I think he doesn't know I'm the Taxman, Johnny. Classic American kids rhyme. Okay. Cool. Oh, he's on Discord. Okay. Anyway, oh, we still have 2 minutes. Ah, I get to relax. Today we're starting the stream with the secret stuff. That probably means that less people are going to stick around, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Music is fine now. Thank you. No problem, Jardo. I actually forgot to turn it down, so hey. Used to be Mr. Tax in UM stream. Ah, okay. Right, Dr. Z's got the corona a few weeks back. We actually, or my girlfriend actually got tested today, and we got the negative answer just now, because we both weren't feeling too great, and we were somewhere where we got an alert on the app that we were close to someone who had it, or was positive, but seems we missed it, so that's good. Perfect, as I need to go in 45 minutes. You keep saying that every time, Johnny, but you stick around anyway. Ah. Right, let's put the Coke away for right now. So, let's go to the secret first. And that is the actual thing I wanted to do during the live stream this week. But we're not going to do because, well, I fumbled it up. I made a mistake. It doesn't work. So, I made some quick PCB designs. Let me see if that's in focus. Should be. There we go. Which I wanted to use to do load testing on various configuration of, might I say, giant input terminals. And also the normal fuse holders we use, some other type of terminals. And also I wanted to test these posts for attaching wires and fuses, or a different type of fuse basically. But I always design most of the footprints I use myself, and that went well for these giant terminals here. As you can see, those fit nicely into the boards, and the pins protrude, and that's all fine. And then we have these giant behemoth terminals here, and those also fit fine, no problem there. And then I designed it for these screw posts. Yeah, I seem to have made a judgment error there. Looking at the data sheet, I did everything right, and I used the same kind of margin I used for like these things, but it's not right. I mean, these are somewhat in, but I really had to hammer those in with a hammer, literally. At least I got the distance right. But yeah, I'll need to remake these PCBs, and it was going to be interesting tests. Like, okay. Like for instance, this one, this is 2-layer, this is 4-layer, this is 2-layer with lots of vias, this is 4-layer with lots of vias, and then we had the different type of terminals, and then different fuse holders, and you have the big beefy posts here, and then the little fuse holder, or the other way around. And I want to do lots of tests of those to see which configuration is best to handle a lot of current without too much voltage drop and heat and stuff like that. And that is for something I'm designing, but that's not something I'm going to share yet. So that is what we were actually going to do today, but since it doesn't fit and it's hammered in, but I can't get them all the way down, and then the tests wouldn't make any sense anyway, that's not what we're going to do today. So, yeah, too bad. These are 10.16 millimeter terminals, I believe. But the interesting thing is they have 4 posts here on the bottom. So that gives you a lot of surface area contacting the board. And then these have 2 posts, but they're like metal bars. So I really wondered how much more current I could get through those instead of the little wimpy screw terminals. But yeah, not today, not today, not today. Maybe in a few weeks, when I get time to redesign and order it. It's too bad because that's about 100 euros of PCBs, but I guess that's how prototyping goes. You design stuff, then you make a mistake, it doesn't work. Or rather, I didn't make a mistake. I kept 0.3 millimeter margin from what it said in the datasheet, but it really doesn't fit, so it needs to be bigger. But yeah. Anyway. Have you seen the round pick and placeable terminals? I don't think I have. So instead of doing those load tests, because recently in the Quinbox, if you guys watched it, I got 5 of these loads. And I've been really loving playing with them and testing some stuff I've been working on. And I was like, okay. We did a while back, we did a live stream where we tested different cable sizes and running like 40, 50 amps through them and see what happened. Well, today we're going to do kind of the same thing, but then we're using those loads. And I have some 1.5 millimeter, so that's about 15 gauge. And I have 4 millimeter, so that's about 11 gauge CCA cable here. So normally you have cable, like this one for instance, that has fully copper. Maybe it's tinned copper, but it's still copper. Now they try and sell you this cheaper stuff, and that is copper clad aluminium. So it's actually aluminium wire, but they clad it in copper to make it seem like copper, I guess. And they try and sell you that for cheaper because aluminium is cheaper than copper, but it doesn't have the same properties. Copper has much less resistance, or aluminium has much more resistance than copper. So copper is a better conductor, so better to use in wires. So I was thinking like, okay, let's use some 15 gauge CCA versus some 16 gauge or 1.3 millimeter square copper cable. So actually the CCA is a bit thicker because I just don't have the same wire. And then use some 11 gauge CCA, so that's 4 millimeter, versus some 12 gauge, that's 3.6 millimeter square copper cable. And well, see what the difference is. Are we going to see it heat up giantly or a lot, or is it going to show a lot more voltage drop, or what's going to happen? Well, we're going to find out. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to have fun with this. And yeah, lots of cable here. Give it a year and you'll be building 0000 cabled LED boards. Who knows? Just bend the pins. You can't bend the pins on these. These pins are not bendable. Trust me. But the holes are too narrow, so even bending it won't do anything. But at least allowed me to test some stuff, and I got the spacing correct for having a fuse in between there, so that's good. But yeah, more tests on that later. Later, some other time. If you want to build a monster Ambilight setup, maximum brightness and deep saturated colors, which strip would be best? I would look at WS2811 12 volt 96 LEDs per meter, and then the bright variant from BTF Lighting. I have those in my LED buying guide. If you want the best colors I've ever seen, get that strip. It is beautiful. So it's in this buying guide over here. An example of the type. Okay, let me look. Oh. With internal bind. Oh, 50 to 70 amps. That's good. And they're S&T. M3 to M5. Cool. Because these are also M5 size. Cool. I'm gonna bookmark that and look that up later, Johnny. That's interesting. I wonder if they could handle the torque though, if from screwing in the screw, because you kind of twist it. But then again, I guess it's designed for that, and if it's soldered down well enough. Yeah, gonna look into that. Cool. Interesting. Thank you. Anyway, bright white, are they RGBW? No, these are RGB. But you're asking for deep saturated colors, and RGB, especially if it's in a single diode, will always have the issue that if you use blue, the white diode will also illuminate. If it's separate diodes, that's going to be a little bit better. But if you want deep blues, you basically can't use RGBW anywhere close to it. But yeah, those WS2811's 96 LEDs per meter bright variant, that's important, those have a lot better LED chips, because WS2812B or WS2815 or SK6812, whatever, it doesn't matter from which vendor you get them, they are always the same LED chip. Because the LED driver, the WS2812B or whatever we're talking about, is inside the LED package. So the LEDs in them are always going to be the same. But WS2811 is an external controller chip to which you then link 3 RGB packages. And since, well, those are external, you can use different packages. So the normal variant uses kind of equivalent quality-wise to WS2812 and stuff like that. But the bright variant couples the WS2811 chip with much better quality LEDs, giving you much nicer and more saturated and brighter colors than the normal variants you get on other strips. So, yeah. There's going to be a video about that at some point, but yeah. So that's why WS2811 allows for more combinations than all the integrated LED controllers, because those always come with the LED attached. So yeah. Yeah. And the phosphor in the RGB or in the W port reacts to the blue light, because most LEDs are blue beneath the phosphor from the blue diode. So then they react. So then the blue gets more pastel, basically. Yeah. Just bought a Meanwell RSP205 in the 5 volt space. Which strip would you recommend then? 5 volt. Oh. Well, as I just explained, there's not going to be too much difference there. Then just get plain WS2812B, I guess. Yeah, the bright version is also a much clearer casing than the normal version, yeah. But I really love the colors. It's such an improvement. But if you already have a power supply, not much I can do there. Right, so let's get to this, because I need to prepare. So here we have the load testers, and currently it has some screws in there, or some wires in there, which I'm going to remove. Because those are 14 gauge, and that's not what we're using today. Now you can see the little wires poking out. The top cam is a little bit dark. Let me see if I can prove that. There we go. Oh no. There we go. That's better. So these are 14 gauge, so we don't need those right now. I haven't got my load testers yet. Bah! Really? Oh, that's taking a while. I got them sooner than that, I think. And we need to determine the size or the length of wire we're going to use. Oh, first let's do a test. Let's do the burn test. We did that a while ago on cables we got from AliExpress to see if cable was actually copper or CCA. And the reason is aluminium has a much lower melting point than copper. So where copper will start to glow, aluminium cable or CCA cable will actually break in a direct flame. So we can test that. Let's test that. That's a good test. Let's see if we actually got CCA, because I had to look for it and make sure it was CCA. I have too much real cable. So, okay. Oh no, what am I doing? Okay, let's get this side. I'm just gonna cut a piece off. Then I'm gonna need my trusty onderzetter. Yes, my flame retarding surface. Okay, now it's a bit bright. It's never good. There we go, I guess. Okay, we need to zoom. Zoom. Yes, much better. There we go. Now we can see what we're doing. Okay, so I guess we're gonna use one. Oh, okay. One side, and then we're just gonna strip a whole length off. Okay. Well, that looks. You know, it has a slight yellowish sheen. So let's see, what gauge is this? Oh, this is 18. Okay, don't need that. Okay, well, let's use my new 16 gauge I got in the last Quinn box, which isn't released yet. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. I don't think I'll be able to cut this with this guy. Nope. Okay, whatever. That's fine. And let's separate these two. And let's get some. So, at first glance, you'll see that this looks more aluminium color than this actually does. Because this is copper clad, and they keep the copper color because they think, hey, they'll think it's copper. And then this actually looks more aluminium, but this is tin. So it's a copper cable, but then tinned so that it doesn't rust or something like that. So I'm going to twist it together a little bit. And you'll already notice that this cable is a lot more stiff than this one. Now, I learned from doing this the last time, you do not want to be holding the cable while you torch it, because it's hot. Okay, so I'm going to show you the copper cable, or at least, well, this is new cable I just took out of the package, so it should be copper. Let me see if I can focus this a little bit more. Still not in focus enough. There we go. Yep, that's it. Okay, so we have our trusty little burner, and that's why also why I had flames in the background. I'm just gonna start heating it. And in theory, if it's copper, it'll start to glow, which it seems to be doing. I should maybe torch it more from the top. There, can you see it glowing? There's a lot of light in the studio, so... But at least, you know, it's smoking a little bit and it's glowing, but nothing is really happening here. Yeah, it's red hot now. Yeah, okay. So it glows a little bit, but nothing really happens. Right? So let me get the CCA, and I shouldn't touch the other one because it's hot. Now the other one is a silicone cable, so the casing is made of silicone and not plastic. This is a cheaper plastic cable, but we'll see how it holds up. So let's hit it with the same torch. Interesting. It's glowing. In theory, it should start breaking at some point. Gonna move away from the plastic smell a little bit. Did I get copper cable? Oh, the plastic fumes. Why is it not breaking? Oh, this is going to be interesting. Yeah, it became gray, that's true. Maybe I need to separate the strands more. Because I'm used to CCA actually breaking down. But I think it's maybe too massive. Blah. the plastic smoke is real. So let me get this guy. Let me try and separate it a little bit. But then again, it's only fair we do the same to the copper cable. So let's unwind that one. Shouldn't have twisted them together. I should have just used a few strands, I guess. I think I can touch this one. Yeah. Okay, let's do the other side. You know, get a fresh sample. Here we go. And let's make it several strands here. Okay, now we have a lot more strands on that one. Let's do the same on this one. Let's cool down. You could feel it snapping. Oh wow. Okay. Okay, so now we also have a few strands on this one. And I guess let's retry that test. Okay, where's my burner? There we go. So, this is the, or what is supposed to be the copper. And let's do it on these strands over here. Right, I think I just had too much mass just now. Some are snapping, but others are fine. This is new cable I just got out of the packaging I just got in. Who knows, maybe this isn't real copper either. We're going to see. Interesting. Okay, so that saw some snapping, but all in all it was okay. Hold on. There we go. So let's see how this supposedly CCA cable reacts. Oh yeah, okay. See that? That's what we were looking for. So basically these all snapped and broke and fell down. So let's do it again with these. So this is definitely CCA because copper shouldn't do that. So just now I just had a too big mass to see that happening. Let's hit the copper again. Yeah, individual strands will break, but they don't bend over and fall off like the CCA just now. So much plastic stank here now. Oh well. Okay, so burn test. CCA basically kind of snaps, and copper will discolor and maybe break a little bit, but certainly not the same like the CCA. If you look here, you can clearly see that these have broken and are very brittle and hard, while these are still, you know, somewhat flexible and tiny little wires. Right. It's not as conclusive as I'd want it to be, but sure. Another month off your life, yeah, right? I'm in a big garage, so it should disperse after a little while. So we're going to be using these load testers, and I guess I'll show you, I'll turn them on. You can take a look. Well, I need to get a 12-volt adapter out real quick. Hold on. Okay. I've got two 12-volt adapters here, which you plug into the back. Over here. Because they need their own power supply, separate from what you're testing. And we can set all kinds of things on these. Like if we want to do constant current testing, and how much. Let's see, we can do constant resistance, constant power, so we can say 10 watts, and then it can vary the voltage or the amps. Constant voltage, so let's say we just want to draw 5 volts, or constant current, and that's the one we're going to use today. So let's start with 1 amp on each. Well, let's start with preparing the cables actually, because that's what we need to do first. How long should we make this cable? Because we just need to make them the same length, I guess. So let's say I'm gonna do 1 arm length and then 2 arm length, something like that. No, we're making them longer because then the effect will be more, basically. So I'm making them. Oh wait, why am I seeing this? That's not good. I hit my buttons. Okay, we're making them this length. And if we really want to know, I think this is about 1 meter, 2 meters. It's about 2 meters or 6 feet, something like that. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, and then we need the copper cable equivalent. So let's get that out. Okay. So just making them the same exact length. Okay. Where's my... Okay, let me just use this. There we go. Right, so let's wind that up. Sorry about not being on the screen right now. Okay, that's 1. I'll measure it in a minute, just to be sure. We can adjust it down if we want to. Let me get a measurement apparatus. Wait, can't reach it. There we go. Okay. So let's see what I cut off then. Okay. This is 30 centimeters. So let's see. 30. Oh wait, that doesn't work. 30. 60. 90. 120, 150, 180. That's 210, 240, and 20, 260. Okay, so that's about 2.5 meters, 2 meters 60, something like that. And well, the other one is the same size because I cut them the same length, right? Okay, now we need to put connectors on them because I'm going to be using my UHP 500-5. That's an 80 amp 5 volt power supply from Meanwell, and it's passive, so it doesn't make any noise. Then again, our load testers will make noise, so it doesn't really matter in this case. Okay, okay, I should have those here. Because I think I'm going to put some fork terminals on them. But I need to find the right size. I think the smallest size would do. I'm not sure my measurement equipment is sensitive enough, but I can try. But let's put connectors on them first. So 1.25 might fit on both. Let me see about that. But then again, I can't get those on my power supply, probably. Oh, I can get those on my power supply. Okay. That's good. But can I get them in my tester? Well, we can use a wire ferrule on the other side. Okay. That's fine. SV, yeah. So I need 4 of these. And I need 4 of these. No, 2 of each. Oh, what am I doing? Because I'll use ferrules on the other side, right? Okay, I'll worry about packing this back in here later. There we go. So this is the silicone cable, and we need to not strip too much because this isn't a ferrule but a fork terminal or crimp, and probably this is enough. I could have zoomed in the camera more, but let's see if that fits correctly first. Yep, that looks perfect. So let me get my crimper. Yep, that looks good. So let me zoom you guys back in. Sorry. There we go. So this is a fork style crimp. You use one of these crimpers for that, and it basically makes a decent connection that you can screw into screw posts. For instance, like this guy, like that. It's a different type of connection than a ferrule, for instance, but that way you get a good and secure connection once you screw that down. Okay, let's do it for the negative side. Okay. No, CCA is not the same as tinned copper. CCA is copper-cladded aluminium, and tinned copper is, well, as the name implies, it's copper cable that's been tinned. So, okay, let's get this one out of the way, and let's do the CCA cable now. Okay, separated it a little bit. Let's do it the same way. Make sure it's poking through a little bit, and then clamp it down. Okay. I guess one giveaway could also be that the copper cable has a lot more strands than the aluminium cable, because I think it's easier to make thinner copper strands than aluminium strands. So, okay, those are securely on there. As you can see, the copper, or the wire, I should say, is poking through a little bit, and then you squish it, and then it makes a good, decent connection. Okay, so now we have fork-style terminals on one side, but on the other side we need a wire ferrule, because that terminal doesn't accept fork terminals. So yeah, so let's do that. And this box has a little diagram on there. I think we might be able to use these. Let's see, because you always want to try and use the smallest size that will fit, basically. So I separate them a little bit. Now for a ferrule we do need to strip off more. Something like that, for instance. There we go, because that goes into the metal housing part. These might be a little bit too small. Yeah, these are too small. Okay. So we move on to the black ones. Let's see. Yep, that one fits perfectly. Cool. Okay, so we're going to use the black ones. Directional network cables? What's that? Okay, I need my crimper. Okay. Ow. Okay. Yeah, that's on their security. So now we have a cable with one side crimped ferrules and the other side with fork style connectors. Good. That's what our situation calls for in this case. So that's what we'll make. Oh, I messed this part of the wire up a little bit. There we go. Okay, let's strip that. You can see this cable has a lot more fine strands than the other one. Okay, I think I need the black ones for these two. That should be good. Yep, and the length is good, because if you look at the tops, you can see that the wire is almost poking out. That means you got the length exactly right. They also have directional HDMI cables. Yeah, but that can actually make sense, because here in my studio I'm also using some fiber optical HDMI cables, and those are definitely directional. So, yeah. Then again, there's a lot of snake oil out there. Okay, right, let's hook that up. So let's do the fork style first. So let's get my power supply. Why is everything pushing buttons today? Power supply looks massive this way. They'll fit anyway. Oh wait, you can't see anything. The forks should be bigger for this type of connection, but or for this terminal, I guess. But we can force it in. What am I hearing? Okay, let's do this one. Oh, maybe I was hearing a disconnection sound. Maybe something is pushing down. Oh, right. I think my microphone cable became loose a little bit there. Okay, so power supply is connected. So let's connect the other side. Are you a bit hoarse today? Not too much, a little bit. I was a little bit sick this week. As I said, we feared we might have the Ronas, but we kept testing negative, so I guess not. But a little bit, yeah. Okay, let me get the zoom back. There we go. Nope. Wait, is the audio okay now, or? I hope so. Okay, so let's get this screwed in, and we need the tiny little wire there to also go in there, because this is a four-way. Oh, thanks, Johnny. Let's see you later. A four-way measuring post, so it needs the it kind of needs more cables, but you can do it this way. In theory, it allows you to do more accurate measurements because you can run more cables, but let's not bother with that today. But yeah, my throat is having a little bit of a trouble. Okay, so that's in there. Good. Let me drink some Coke. Okay. Well, I'm not sure there's going to be magic smoke. I hope not. Let's tidy this up a little bit. I like silicone cable so much better than plastic or PVC. Anyway. Right. Plus goes here. And then negative goes into this one. Yeah, this load can go up to 25 amps at 5 volts, so that should be decent. And otherwise I have two more loads, but then we have to build some kind of elaborate construction there. Okay, so let's get these kind of centered in the screen. I think the screen, or the screens are visible. And let's turn on the power supply. Right, so this thing also measures voltage, so that's good. And right now, right now the CCA cable is actually showing a slightly higher voltage than the copper cable, but there's no load on there yet. So let's enable the 1 amp load. Oh, I got the one without the feet. Okay. So with a 1 amp load, the voltage dropped to 4977 over the CCA cable. No, let's keep it in the screen. And then let's start this one. And for this one, it dropped to 5000. But that's with a 1 amp load. So that's not too much of a difference yet. So let's go to 5 amps. Okay. 5 amps, even though this is 15 gauge cable, we're now at 4.5 volts. Let's go to 5 amps here. And with the copper cable, we're at 4.7. Okay. So let's make it more. Let's make it 10. Okay, so this one, even though it's copper, it still drops to 4.35. Okay. And this one drops to 4.1. It's actually less bad than I had imagined. And we can see the cable resistance here, although this shows less resistance than here, so that's a bit odd. Yeah, but basically this one is losing 2 watts in the cable compared to this one. That's actually not too bad. Can you be sure the loads aren't mismatched? Not exact as the pair to... Yeah, okay, they might differ slightly, but they both regulate to 10 amp, so they should be close enough. And I mean, we're seeing a 2 volt difference almost. Let's see what my multimeter says, just to verify. Yeah, some big old induction coils there. That's true. Well, I can spread them out. I don't think it'll make a difference, but... So, let's see here what the terminals say. So my multimeter also says 4.1, and on this one it says 4.35. So that's 2.5 volt, or 250 millivolt extra drop. Yeah. And the power supply is 5.092, 5.092, right? So, okay, so let's up it more. Let's say we wanted to do 15 amps. Now, I'd say you probably need a bigger cable or a thicker cable, but yeah. So now the CCA is at 3.5 volts, and this one is still almost at 4 volts. It's actually less bad than I had imagined. That is an electronic load. So I can set the load to whatever amps and stuff I want to test current draw. Or other stuff. Oh, other way around. Yep, so multimeter also says 3.5. Well, this one still is at around 4 volts. So here the CCA is actually half a volt lower than actual copper. So okay, let's keep going, I guess. 20 amps. Oh, it's not that much worse. Oh, actually, we're getting 60 watts through the CCA cable, while we're getting 71 watts delivered through the copper cable. So that does make a big difference. Oh, okay, yeah, this cable is warm. Is this cable warm? Well, slightly warm. Yeah. So the silicone cable is slightly warm to the touch. But this thing, yeah, this cable's heating up. I can get the FLIR out. We can take a look. Because, well, the heat has to go somewhere. And the issue is that the copper cable, or the CCA cable, has a worse resistance than the copper cable. So it's losing energy, and that energy is lost in the form of heat. That's basically what's happening. Right? So I won't be able to show you guys all that well, but I'll try. Right, so this cable is, wow, it's 53 degrees. 57, 58, 60, it's 60 degrees? Oh yeah, that's 60 degrees. Okay, and then let's look at the silicon cable. I'm trying to show you guys. Let's see here. Over here. So the copper cable is 46 degrees. 48. 45. Well, as the cable heats up, the resistance will get worse. Let's spread it out a little bit. There we go. So it'll start to drop even more. 63. Yeah. So the CCA cable is now at 2.9 volts, while the copper cable is at 3.5 volts. Each drawing 20 amps. So that's 58 watt versus 70. That's quite a bit of wattage to lose just in your cable. How hot is the load tester? Not that hot. This one is... I guess I can show you. Because they have their own temperature measurements. So this one is at 41.7, 41.8, 41.7, sure. And this one is at 38.5. So because, you know, less current is arriving at the load, it has to dissipate less. Andrew, soon. We should be getting a shipment somewhere. We're going to try and send it out next week. So hopefully end of next week, Dr. Z's will get those in. Yep. So here you see 3.5 volt and 2.88. Oh, it's still dropping because the cable is still heating up. 2.8. Wow. Okay. Can't really get it in the shot like this. There we go. So let's take a look at that cable again. $74, $75. Yeah, that cable is now 75 degrees. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's hot. That's warm. 74, yeah. Let's see the silicone cable. Come on. Didn't really change. 44 degrees. 50. Yeah. Okay, so the silicone cable is fine. The CCA cable is heating up a lot. Dr. Z's, are you Quinn's business companion on the Quinn LED stuff? For sure, yeah. Yeah, so, oh, I guess this test is already quite conclusive. Although the problem is less than I would have thought. So let's drop down to 10 amps. I lost one of the feet for this one, so yeah. I need to get a different one. Let me charge my FLIR. Hold on just a second. So at 10 amps, the problem is less pronounced. We're at 4 volt versus 4.3 volt. Yeah. So, I don't know. What conclusion does that give us? Is CCA okay? Or not? I know if for data cables, it'll do all kinds of weird shit. Yeah. I thought when you apply heat to CCA, the cable becomes brittle and breaks. Well, we just did that with a flame test, but I guess we can do that with the cable now. It's cooled down a little bit because we went down, but let's go down to I don't know. Let's turn them off. Okay, the loads are off. Yeah, it's just the CCA is just a higher resistance. So you need a, and remember, this one was already thicker than this one. So this one with the CCA cable was 15 gauge, while the copper cable was 16 gauge. So it was actually thicker, so it had the advantage, but it still dropped a lot more voltage. So let's have that cool down a little bit. Yeah, with no load, it actually shows a higher voltage. That's odd. Okay, I got a little bit of time to cool down. Well, it seems springy enough. I don't think it's breaking. I mean, it got up to 70 degrees, but it looks okay. Well, yeah, copper cable is fine, but yeah. Well, let me replug this one. Cable's in the way. So, conclusion time. Yeah, CCA has a higher resistance than copper. So even when you pit a 15 gauge, so thicker CCA cable against a 16 gauge copper cable, it'll definitely drop more voltage. So because of the higher resistance, and thus also become warmer. Now you could of course derate for that and then just use a thicker CCA cable, because then in the end you could get the same amount of watts through. You'll probably still see a higher drop because of the high resistance still, but then is it worth the price difference? That is, I guess, the main question. $75C is nothing for aluminium. Yeah, but this is a PVC cable, and so because this is silicon, that's rated up to 200 degrees, but I don't know what PVC is rated for. Is it on there? Let's see. Nope, there's no temperature on here, but I know it's not 200 degrees. Let's see, can we Google that? Can we Google that? PVC cable max temperature. Oh, PVC, heat-resistant PVC can resist up to 105C. The highest operational valid temperature for the conductor itself is 90C. And we were already pretty close to that. Now, should you be running 20 amps through a 16 gauge or 15 gauge cable? No, you shouldn't. Especially not for the 2.5 meter distance we have here. But yeah. Because, I mean, we were down to like under 3 volts. So it's not really useful anymore anyway. So yeah, especially in 5 volt systems, I'd say try not to use CCA cable. If you have a higher voltage system where it's lower amps, well, you can use a thicker CCA cable, but then again, the longer the distance is going to be, the worse the effect is going to be. So if you have a 10 meter copper cable with X resistance per meter, or a 10 meter CCA cable with X resistance per meter, the effect is basically going to compound. So the longer you make your cable, the worse the total resistance will be, because the resistance per meter is the same for each meter, basically, if that makes sense. So, can you use CCA? Yeah, I guess you can. Don't drive it too hard, and it might be fine, actually. But do be mindful that the few bucks you save, you might need to invest in going with a thicker cable versus a thinner copper cable that would do just fine. So I wouldn't recommend it, but it's not as bad as I thought. Yeah, that's true, Malt. Although you can get the 96 LEDs per meter, and then you still have 30 addressable zones per meter. Or you can use WS2815, which is special. It's a bit less efficient, but then you have per single addressable 12 volt. Like on my back wall, those are 12 volt LEDs, but they're WS2815s, so single addressable. Not as efficient, but still good for some projects. So, that was the little test I thought of today. We could do the same test with my 20 gauge or my 12 gauge or 4mm square cable over here. But, well, I think it's just going to be more of the same. It's going to have a higher resistance than the copper equivalent, or even a size smaller copper. Yeah. Speaker cable. Yeah, if you buy speaker cable, you can do that for LED projects. Be mindful that a lot of speaker cable gets sold as CCA, or doesn't get labeled as CCA, but is CCA anyway. And with cable prices nowadays, I'd kind of just recommend getting real copper. That's my opinion, but yeah. So, who's got questions about this or anything else? Because we've been only streaming for like an hour and 20 minutes. Yeah, the difference wasn't as big as I thought. Huh. AMA! Well, AMA with limits. But yeah, let's fill another half an hour or so. Any recommendations for RGBW in 24 volt? Are we talking addressable, DJ Solitone? Solitone. Oh, and remember, if you want to do tests yourself, you're like, okay, we have this 16 gauge cable. What what load can I run on there before it gets too much? Because even though this is 16 gauge copper and it has nicely crimped connectors and stuff like that, even with a 5 amp load, we see a voltage drop of 4.7 volts, or to 4.7 volts. And if we up that to 10 volts, or 10 amps, we're already at 4.3 volts. So 16 gauge for 5 volt, if you have start with a higher voltage, it's less of an issue. But even 10 amps over a 16 gauge cable nets you 4.3 volts at the end. So, be mindful of that. Addressable. Okay, so I have two types of addressable 24 volt in my LED strip guide. I'm going to link it again. So there is my 24 volt addressable LEDs that I've tested myself. There is the TM1814 RGBW and there is SK6812 RGBW, but both will be per 6 addressable. Now, that can be acceptable or not. It depends on the length you want to do and stuff like that. If it's, for instance, for in a garden, maybe it doesn't matter too much, if it's 5 or 10 meters away that it's per 6 addressable. But if it's for inside and clearly visible, it's kind of a downside. But yeah. Then I try and maybe look at my buck converter project. Let's see where I have that. So I have a whole article and a video series about using 24 volt for the distribution, because then you can still use a Dig-Quad and stuff like that. And then you use a 5 volt buck converter near the strip, so you can use the 24 volt to transport all the power. And then you buck it to 5 volt right near the strip, and that way you can have, well, best of both worlds really. You can use really thin cables and then transfer 1 amp to 5 amp going into the strip. So, yeah. Yeah, it has a bit much resistance, that's true. The high voltage addressable seem pretty hard to source nowadays. Okay. Oh, on a case. Oh, don't have any real recommendations on that. Maybe someone else in the chat? Any update on the AN Penta release and the V3 Dig releases? That's a good question. The AN Penta, I'm working on the final changes to the board layout from the trial run. Those are just some minor adjustments with adding some capacitors in some spots, which can maybe relieve some noise. And that's it. Then that will be released because most articles are already done. And the DIY releases, I need to get working on the articles, and I want to send some to Philip and Andy to test them out too. But I think the designs, the PCB designs are pretty good for that. So we just need to update the articles and maybe do a soldering video and stuff like that. But yeah. Yep, there are many nice calculators on the web. You can determine voltage drop and max heat increase. Absolutely. It's for a 3D printed wall display. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if per 6 addressable is good then. That really depends on, you know, how it looks. I can't tell. Yeah, RGB white is not white. Oh, right. Oh, well, we can do a resistance measurement with my multimeter. Let's disconnect the cables. Guess I should have started with that, but you know. No, don't disconnect those. Okay. Let's get that out of the way. And this one. Right, so let's see here. That's going to be the best measurement, but we'll see. I always forget what to use. I don't think my multimeter can do that. Nope. Well, we can try using this simple setting. So this is copper. Yeah, just showing no resistance. Well, this is with my fingers in between. Yeah, my multimeter isn't accurate enough for that. So this is saying no resistance on the copper cable, sure. And then let's try it on the CCA cable. Yeah, it's also showing no resistance on the CCA cable, but that's because there's no load on there. So my multimeter isn't accurate enough for that. Sorry. I do have a different one here. Let me check. Oh, the ESP82, the ESP32AE Plus is almost in production. I needed to make some final small changes, and then we should be ready to go. I really want to replace my surround sound system with something that works. Anyone have one that they've replaced? I just have a giant receiver and speakers. That works great. What are you looking for? So we can try using this multimeter. But it it might be a little bit more accurate. We can see. Yeah, it's still showing 0 on the copper. And 0 on the CCA. So I don't have a meter accurate enough to measure that. Wait, you want PoE Bluetooth? What? Ah, okay. Well, that's a very specific case where you need that to be in a single gang. That I don't know about. You could try looking up some cheap amplifiers on AliExpress, actually. But that doesn't have too much to do with surround sound, I'd say. That's just you want a small speaker for in your wall. What fuse type should I search for when looking for a 10 amp replacement of the 5 amp fuse in the Dig-Quad? You can look for ATO or ATC fuses, I believe. They're slightly different, but they should both fit in the fuse holders. And the most important thing to watch out for, the really cheap fuses are made of aluminium, like the CCA. And those generally don't really have the value they're rated for. So a good fuse, if you have a 5 amp fuse and you run 7 or 8 amps to it, it'll burn through in a few seconds. My experience with cheap aluminium fuses is that they'll burn down their plastic housing and get really hot and not really fuse that well. So make sure you get zinc fuses. Ah, you have really nice speakers in the ceiling you want to make use of. Okay. Sure, you can run power through a Cat 5e cable, but not a lot. Maybe like half an amp. That's it. So, that's not a lot. Yes, look for zinc fuses. That's important. Some receivers, Dr. Z's, the big receivers, also come with wireless back channel and wireless subwoofer modules, which then have the amplifier inside of it. So if you have ceiling speakers, you could maybe put that wireless receiving and amplification module in the ceiling with the speakers too, or near where you have the cables, and that way it'll transfer the audio wirelessly and you can use power locally. Hope that makes sense. Bluetooth and stuff like that isn't suitable for that because of the latency. The Bluetooth has way too high latency for that. So maybe you look for wireless speaker kits or wireless amplification kits or wireless back speaker bridges, something like that. Because that will have the amplifier with local power. You can just plug into the AC there and then receive the audio signal that way. Yeah, my voice is giving out. Damn. Cool, let's give it another, I don't know, 5 minutes. We'll do a short stream this time. We only had a short topic, so, yeah. Anybody have any 5-minute questions? We're not doing a secret at the end of the stream this time. We had the secret at the beginning of the stream that I'm testing high current stuff, and I actually wanted to do that in the video today. but it didn't work out. Sometimes you build PCBs and prototypes and they don't work. You know, that's how it goes. That's why you build prototypes, then you make more. Teaser time. No, there's no teasers. That wasn't the teaser. I just showed you. Roost sound is the brand I have now, not surround sound. Okay. Yeah, but it's not going to do surround sound on its own. It needs a processor that will do the surround sound, and then you just send those channels to those speakers. I hope you keep the soldering guide for the V2.6. I still have PCBs left. Yeah, no worries. I'm not deleting any articles. There will be new articles, but then at the top of the article, you'll be able to go to the older versions. No problem. No, lots of people have older versions, and those still work fine if you don't need any of the new features. There's nothing wrong with them. So, use those. No problem. Hey, unexpected makers here. Am I late? Can't stay long. Wanted to say hi. Yeah, you're late. Conclusion. 2.5 meters of 1.5 millimeter CCA versus, or 15 gauge, or 2.5 meters of 16 gauge or 1.3 millimeter squared copper. The CCA has half a volt more drop running 20 amps to it. That's the conclusion of the video. 70 volt style? What's that? Yeah, but the 80 Plus should be coming soon. This is an old version. Where's my newest version? They talk about another kind of work. Don't know. Okay. It's here somewhere, but nobody has any questions? Aw. TLDR at the end of the video. Yeah, too long now. It's a TLDW. What is CCA? Copper-clad aluminium cable. So they sell you that for cheap and say, oh, this is a 15 gauge or 16 gauge cable. But then it looks like copper because it has copper surrounding the aluminium core. But of course the properties are a lot different. It has a lot more resistance and stuff like that. So yeah. Copper-clad aluminium. How do you get CE for your boards, or is it optional since it's DIY? Basically, it's optional since it's DIY. We sell them as, you know, print boards, and then people use them themselves. So that's why currently they don't have CE. I have looked into it. We have actually done some certifications, like the Dig-Quad. They have been put through UL and CSA. And we have done some preliminary CE testing on those too. So I know they'll pass, but they're not officially certified because they're not in a product. There are some products coming out which will have the QuinLED boards as base in them, and those will have to be certified. Cooper cladded. Oh yeah. That's the Chinese version, Cooper. I'll pull one of the in-wall units so we can dissect it. Yeah, do it on a stream. Then we'll probably be able to advise better too. Right. Well, Sion made it just at the end. Thank you all for watching. It's actually less bad than I thought, especially at lower amps and maybe higher voltages. This stuff might actually be usable. I'd still always advise to get real copper cable just to not have any issues. This test also doesn't show what will happen with a data signal and how that might degrade with different resistances versus what a copper cable has. So my recommendation is still use copper, but if you have CCA for a power cable, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. But, you know, your mileage may vary. Oh, no worries, unexpected maker. Happy to have you here when you have the time, but yeah. So, again, as I started saying, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you back in a video on the Discord server, in the comments, or yeah, next time on a live stream. Bye-bye. Oh, Philip, just in time. Thanks, man, for the donation. Bye.